This week we're going to cover immunity, the lymphatic system, and cancer. I know previously discussed cancer a little bit, had some questions on it. This section is mostly on immunity and it's mostly about the lymphatic system. So as a quick introduction, basically, immunity refers to the ability of an organism to defend itself against invasion from other organisms, specifically microorganisms. And these are some terms that are related to immunity. This term, normal flora. Normal flora refers to the amount of microbes that are a permanent part of skin. Not only that, but they're a permanent part of the body. For every one human cell, and there's 75 trillion human cells, we have 5 bacteria cells. The one on skin is Staphylococcus aureus. That's the predominant one. But normal flora protects skin, internal organs. They use up the available oxygen, nutrients, and the goal being trying to prevent other microbes from being able to get into an area and start to grow. Transient flora is what is picked up during the day. When a person takes a bath, they wash their hands, they scrub with soap, they're trying to remove transient flora. You cannot get skin sterile. It's impossible. Skin has contours, little folds. And also, skin has a layer of oil that is produced by sebaceous glands, so it's impossible to get skin sterile. But the goal of anything with cleaning is to remove transient flora. Okay, some other terms. A pathogen talks about a disease-causing agent. Anything that causes disease is pathogenic. Direct contact, we have kind of covered this. That is person-to-person contact. A lot of diseases are infectious diseases, so they can be spread person-to-person. And yeah, ways of preventing infection, sanitation, cleaning the area that a person would eat, cook, make food in. Body washing is hygiene. Vaccinations actually are disease prevention, and we'll go over that in the last video. Once again, we kind of have covered this. There are some bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics. These little circular pieces of DNA called plasmids. And a lot of times they carry what are called luxury genes. And those genes allow microbes that are resistant to penicillin to become also resistant. Without getting into a dissertation, penicillin is based on a ring. It's called a beta, B-E-T-A, lactam ring. And that structure prevents the cell wall from forming, penicillin-wise. And so microbes that can't form a cell wall can't survive. And anything that's antibiotic resistance, they have an enzyme called beta-lactamase, which breaks up that ring, and now they can form a cell wall, and now they are resistant to antibiotics, or like penicillin, things like that. Okay, we've kind of done this too. I'll go briefly through. Here are some examples of some microorganisms. We did this. Bacteria, remember they had cell shapes and arrangements. There's spirilla, there's spirochete, and we did viruses, a whole section on that with the little pins that allow them to attach to different receptors. Fungi, the fungus among us. Those include yeast and mold. This is a protozoan, little guy there, got the little cilia around. Oop, and that's the wrong outline. So those are little single-celled organisms. Protozoans are what you find in water, make you sick. Helminths, roundworms, pinworms, hookworms, tapeworms. Once again, you can look through this. This is a giant. This is called an Ascaris worm. Horrible picture, but that's people get infections of those during surgery. They have a tendency to want to come out every exit. It's all, all out, everybody out, all exits, no waiting. These are pinworms. They are small. They're pretty much don't really cause any trouble other than itching. They're common, not common, but more prevalent in kids, daycares. They come out at night and lay eggs around the host anus. And then they go back up into the lower digestive tract. So to look for those, you have to go in at night with a flashlight or put some tape in that area to pick up the eggs. Hookworms, tapeworms, a little more crazy stuff. This is a hookworm with the teeth. You can see they get underneath the skin. They can actually go right underneath the dermis. Itching, painful infection. These are tapeworms. These are suckers. This little hook part's called a rostrum. They hook into the small intestine where different organisms, or humans, cows, dogs, cats, it's where they absorb all their food. And then the older the tapeworm, the bigger they get. They anchor in there, and that's how they get all of their nutrition. All right, so here are some examples of infectious diseases. You guys kind of did that last week. So an infectious disease is one that has an agent, and it can be spread by direct contact. So etiology means when an infectious disease is shown to be caused by a specific organism, like typhoid fever. I know it says examples, but don't worry about that. That's Salmonella typhimurium. Cholera is Vibrio cholerae. This is Mycobacterium tuberculosis that causes that. Plague is called Yersinia pestis, a little microbacteria that infects the fleas of rodents. Gonorrhea is actually Neisseria gonorrhea, which is a bacteria. So that's all that means. Etiology means you have a specific organism that causes a very specific disease. Yes, we've done this. Communicable means person to person. That's what pandemics, epidemics, vectors, talked about those. Those are arthropods that are capable of transmitting disease. And here are some examples of what would cause a person to be susceptible to getting sick. Immune system lowered, diabetes, possibly other disease states, maybe just got through having chemotherapy, something that's maybe even a previous infection that the immune system's lowered, nutritional status, stress. Stress has a tendency to lower the immune system. Stress can cause lack of sleep, and lack of sleep actually results in less than average white blood cells. All kinds of factors. And then here are some health practices to avoid infection. I think those are pretty common sense. Safe food supply, not contaminated, safe water to drink. Okay, I'm going to cover this and we're going to end this video. So here is, and there's some examples of, the healthy practices, but here's one of the giants in microbiology and the study of the immune system. So I'll make him big. This is a drawing of Louis Pasteur, French chemist / pathologist / biochemist. He did everything. He did a lot of things. Probably his big three accomplishments. He did start what's called the germ theory of disease, and that is that certain microorganisms cause certain diseases that was not known during his lifetime. He actually sort of solidified that. He helped save the silk industry. Silk was being destroyed by microbes, and he came up with ways to preserve that. He did save the beer and wine industry. He came up with pasteurization, which is heating fluids to a certain point to kill pathogenic microbes. Not all microbes, and microbes that would cause spoilage. So anything pasteurized has been heated. That's why it lasts longer. And he did finish another person's work with vaccines. So he was a huge guy. And a lot of hospitals are located on Louis Pasteur Drive. But that's one of his big ones, the germ theory of disease. Now, antibiotics, Alexander Fleming, and that's underlined. I believe that is actually spelled right. I think it's 2 M's. That's him. Discovered penicillin back in 1929. It's actually produced by a fungus called a penicillium, and he did a lot of work with petri plates, and he noticed one day that something had grown on his petri dish, one of his petri dishes, and it had killed everything on the plate, on this petri dish he was trying to grow, bacteria. And so he started studying it, and it was from a fungus, and that's where he discovered an antibiotic. Anti means without, bio means life, and he discovered penicillin. So, antibiotics are produced by microbes that kill other microbes. Okay, and we've already talked about these a little bit, but yeah, there are these little rings of DNA that exist in the microbial world that carry antibiotic resistance genes, and those are called plasmids. Okay, I'm going to start there with the next video.